Let's get into this today. Welcome, everyone. This is part 2 of how to have a kick-ass elevator pitch, navigating the elevator pitch. My name is Luc Bouchard. My company is Barebones Communications, and I tote myself as a brevity specialist because in videos you have to be brief and you have to get to the point. I also consider myself to be a message crafter, which is really about helping people have a succinct message so that they can basically get the traction that they're looking for their potential clients and whatnot. There are 2 parts to developing your elevator pitch or having a kick-ass elevator pitch. Yesterday we went through the value proposition. We really looked at the value proposition. And the reason I put that before this information is that if you don't have an understanding of what you bring to the table, it's going to be kind of hard to have an elevator pitch on that. And these, you could do either of them, like you don't have to do both of them, but it's kind of good in the order that they're set up. And yesterday in the value proposition, I basically, the definition I was using, one of the definitions I was using was an innovation, service, or feature intended to make a company or product attractive to consumers. So it's what you bring to the table. It's what you are actually saying. This is why you should pay for my services, or this is why you should hire me. Part 2, which is today, navigating the elevator pitch, is that there's actually 2 sections to this. And the first part is the mechanics of the elevator pitch, and it is not as it's about probably a third less than the second part. And the second part is a simple yet elegant model to show potential customers how to build rapport with them, or how to build rapport with potential customers or clients. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you, and that will be coming after we get through the mechanics. This information is important because once we get through this time of isolation, we're going to need to have good people skills. So I'm really glad you're attending this because you're keeping your skills sharp. I liken it to when astronauts go into space, they lose bone density because there's no gravity. Well, maybe we're all losing our engagement density on that. I have a lot of density around my web size, but we're not talking about that. So, you know, this is a chance to practice, and that's why I really encourage you to turn on your video cameras so people can see you and kind of put yourself out there, right? Because once we're back out there, we're not going to be able to turn off our video camera. We're going to have to get in front of people. So, why do we give elevator pitches? Well, simply, it's to create an interest in a product or an idea, and of course yourself, and it's to generate conversation. And at its heart, it really is to help the other person getting to know you better. An elevator pitch, and I'm not going to read this one because I don't do it very well, but I'm just going to let you, there's 3 parts to the slide, so I'm going to count to 10, and then I'm going to go to the next one. So, second part. And the third part. So, some of you may know this already, but I'm just going to explain why we call it an elevator pitch. It's the idea that when you travel someone 3 stories on an elevator, they should be able to remember who you are and what you're about. And so your elevator pitch is not intended to make a sale. That's not why you're doing the elevator pitch. Your elevator pitch is simply to get people to lean in so they want to have more of a conversation with you. Now, something else I use interchangeably is a positioning statement and elevator pitch. So here's some definitions on a positioning statement. And this is just a foundation for you to give an idea of where I'm coming from and that we can push against or launch from these concepts. And so the other thing I want to say is that no one wants to see you fail in your elevator pitch. No one wants to see you or your positioning stable. No one wants to see you fall on your face and not have a good time with it. Unless you're a sociopath or you enjoy seeing people struggle, which most people don't. People don't want to see you fail. And so when you have a positioning statement or elevator pitch, it actually is a means of engaging people. It's a form of social lubricant so that you can keep the conversation going. And simply, this is my take on a positioning statement. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is what I believe. Or said differently, in essence, what you're doing is you're planting a flag in the sand and saying, this is what I'm about, and this is how you get to know get to know me and whatnot. And my one big takeaway for today is the same big takeaway I said yesterday in part one, and that is I want you to understand that you're not pitching only to the people in front of you. And if you hear nothing else from today, it's that concept that you're actually talking to that person's pipeline. You're speaking to all the people they may know, and it is said that every person potentially knows up to 250 people. And where do they get that from? Well, actually, that's the average attendance of a funeral. How many people, if somebody's going to go to your funeral, you could probably refer to them. Now, I'd like to think I'm going to get 250 people at my funeral. I don't think I'm going to, but I'm fine with that. So you're not pitching, you're not prospecting to the person in front of you. You're prospecting to everyone they know, because the person that you're talking to may not have in need of your services or your products. They may not have that pain point that you might be solving or that difficulty that they're going through in life, but they may know someone. So if you spend time with someone, like, you have a conversation and they don't remember if you have a specialty or what you do or what sets you apart, then how are they going to be able to present you to other people and say, oh, you need an arborist. Oh, I know, I just met an arborist, and I can make a referral to you on that. So you're not pitching to the people in front of you. And as I mentioned, for today's presentation, positioning statement, elevator pitch are interchangeable. Now, one of the other things that's really important in the mechanics of an elevator pitch is your values and principles. So I'm going to give you another definition here about, we're going to start with personal values. So I'll give you a chance to read that. And here's the definition on principles. So the question I want you to ask yourself is, why is it important that you declare your values and principles in your positioning statement? Does anyone want to take a guess as to why that's important?
Can you put up the question again?
Why is it important to be able to declare your values and your principles in your elevator pitch?
Alan here. I'm going to guess because people like to do business or interact with people who have the shared values.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Alan. That's absolutely correct. And at its heart, we do business with people who we like, and we well, maybe not all the time, right, Jerry? But
ouch.
Well, but really, it's not always going to be the people we like on that, but it's really about trust and having that. So it actually lets people know what you're about and where you stand. And here's the next takeaway I want you to have, and that is all long-term relationships are based on common values. So if we look at marriages that actually have any kind of staying power, or marriages that are successful, whatever that means, they usually have a same religious faith or same religion, their same faith. That's kind of like their same common values on that. And if you think about relationships that you've had for your whole life, childhood relationships, well, quite likely you probably have more in common with them than not. And that old saying, you never leave a job, you leave a boss. Well, that's an indication of not having common core values. So if you have a boss that you've inherited a new boss, that someone's in there and they've decided that, you know, you have to work 60 hours a week and you only want to work 40 hours a week because you want to have a life and you want to have your family. Well, there's a conflict with common values and whatnot. So all shared relationships that have any staying power, have any longevity to them, and that are not forced are about common values. And this is really important to understand, because when you position yourself with your values and whatnot, and other people have them, then basically it sets up a relationship. And really, what you're actually saying is that you think alike. And when we demonstrate that we think alike with someone, at a root level, at a grassroots level, at the very bottom, what's actually going on is that we feel safer with someone because they have greater values. If we look at, you know, there's a lot of conflicts in the world right now, and there's a lot of stuff we're going through, but those conflicts are about a disalignment of shared values. So values are extremely important. Your values and principles are extremely important as to be able to establish those relationships. So here's some examples of values and principles in a positioning statement. I believe that. I'm called to. I want to make the world a better place by. I'm passionate about. What gets me excited is, or conversely, what gets me really mad is this. These are declarations of your values and your principles. And when I make those statements, like let's say in a statement of, I believe everyone should donate blood, that is my value coming out. Those are my values and principles, and I'm asserting them out there by saying that's what I believe. You don't have to have those same values or principles, but that's what I believe. So my question for you is that what values and principles do you bring to your elevator pitch? And it's something I would really have you consider, because it is the foundation of why people are going to engage with you, because you're going from not knowing someone to meeting with them, wanting to do business with them. Why should they trust you? Why should they believe you? Okay, so that was the basic elements, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The basic elements of an elevator pitch, and these don't necessarily have to flow in this order. I'm just listing some of them, and you want to cover all of these preferably, because they're kind of filling in. So the first one is, my name is, I am, and this is where your title, your background comes in. I'm passionate about or I believe in. What I specialize in or do exceedingly well is, and here's the last point. This is the thing, again, I want you to pay attention to and listen for, and it is your form of call to action in your elevator pitch. I'm looking for, or who do you know that? So it's what you're saying is that basically you're letting them know that you're looking for other people. And call to actions in videos and on websites and in messaging are very important, because we literally have to tell people what to think and what to do. It's that simple. It's like you need to say, do this, because they're in their own world and whatnot. So I'm going to give you an example of my my positioning statement, and I have a prop here with us. So I have many, and I'll give you one right now. So we've done it. We've passed the tipping point where anyone can shoot a video and upload it to the internet. The question is whether or not that video is relevant to your target audience. My name's Luc Guichard. My company is Bare Bones Communications, and I specialize in positioning people as experts. If you know anyone that could use my services, please let them know. That's one of them. And your elevator pitch is organic, and it changes. It's not static, and it changes for the circumstance and the environment. There's also something called an escalator pitch. And the escalator pitch is, you imagine if you're riding an escalator and you're going up and someone's coming down. So like this, the time that you can talk to them in that time of bringing on there is what an escalator pitch is. Like, you have to be fast and you have to be really quick. They actually say that for movie scripts, they're escalator pitches. You really have to be on the mark and whatnot. So these are they're the actual mechanics of the elevator pitch. And the best way that you can get good is by practicing them, and practicing by going networking events when we're going to be back doing networking events. But you need to practice. It's a muscle you need to be able to develop. Now I want to look at really what I'm excited about showing you all, and it's this this simple model on how to build rapport quickly with prospective clients. But before I can do that, I actually have to ask you some questions. And for those of you that were on the call yesterday, I did run through these questions, and I'm going to go through them now because they are significant for having a good elevator pitch. And it starts with the first one is, what do you sell? Apple doesn't sell computers, it sells ease of use. Nike doesn't sell shoes, it sells a lifetime. And Michelin doesn't sell tires, it sells safety. So, what do you sell? Second of all, how do you know you're relevant to your ideal client? Not how do you think, how do you know you're relevant? Because if you don't know how you're relevant, how can you sell to them? How can you actually make their life easier and deal with their pain points? And the third question is actually harder than the first two. And this is what people struggle with. And this is where I spend quite a bit of time in my message crafting service to get people to understand this. And it is, why should I believe that you're doing it for anything other than money? Because if I don't know your motivation as to why you're wanting to give me your services or products, my fallback position is always going to be you want to make money from me. And some of your industries where that's exactly what people expect of you is that you're just going to hose them and make a lot of money. You're just going to charge a lot for them on that. And so you need to have this a good understanding of what your why is. Why do you do it? Why do you care? Why do you care about me? Because if I don't know why you care about me, I'm certainly not going to care about you. And one of my favorite sayings is that everyone is tuned into one FM radio station and one FM radio station only, and that is WIIFM. What's in it for me? We run that through our lens, and we have to understand that people are going to want to know why they should actually do business with you and how you're going to solve their problems. We will come back to these 3 questions, and I'm going to follow up with another 3 questions. And it is, what do these 3 things have in common? So we have a billboard by Bell Mobility, and mental health affects us all. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, everyone deserves a good night's sleep. That's by the Provincial Sleep Group. And I'm not expecting you to be able to answer these right now. We will come back to these. And the last one is, this is actually in my meetup post up, and there's a description here. So these 3 things, these 3 images I just showed you, actually have one common thread in all of them. And we will be revisiting these in the past. So let's get into this, how to actually start having a better elevator pitch and some of the theory behind it. And I'm going to start by showing what I typically see in people's sales pitch or prospecting statements. And I'd like to use this example of actually the North Atlantic Ocean. So here we have the North Atlantic Ocean, and we have an iceberg that floats in, and we're going to call it Iceberg A. And then another iceberg comes in, and that's Iceberg B. Well, A wants to sell to B. A is actually interested in basically prospecting on B. So what does A do? They send out a message or a sales pitch. But inevitably what happens is it falls into the water. It goes into the drink. It doesn't land on the person. Well, it falls short because it's tailored based to a very other client base. It's tailored to a very another different client base. So something I heard not too long ago was somebody pitching timeshares on cruise ships. And the reason this doesn't work for me is because I've never done a cruise ship, and I'm not really feeling compelled to be on a cruise ship, and I don't do timeshares. So this message is not going to land on me. The second thing I see going on is it overshoots because it's too general and the audience doesn't have that problem or desire or interest. So one for me is, buy a Ram truck. Well, I have a hybrid. I like driving my hybrid. I'm very conscious about that. I don't need a truck. So it's going to go over my head going, yeah, whatever. So all those truck commercials we see on TV don't land on me. The third one, and this is actually very problematic, is it bounces off. And B may actually have this problem or desire, but it's going to not it's not going to land on them. It actually it repels off them. And the reason for that is the ideal client hasn't been effectively identified, or the target audience is suspicious of the messenger's intent and dismisses it altogether. So an example where we see this is everyone here familiar with MLMs, multi-level marketing? I see one nod. I see, do you know, are you familiar with that? It's like, it's it's people selling cookware or candles, or Amway is a big one on that, right? And another one is World Financial Group. They're a multi-level marketing or other financial services, right? So they basically want you to have your client base. Well, whenever I have anyone that approaches me with an MLM, my back gets against the wall, because I have so many people run at me thinking that they're going to solve my problems in the world by their home-based business. And there are a lot of good products out there, and there's a lot of products that are very questionable. Someone once said, yeah, buy our secret elixir. It's the teardrops of an endangered monkey in the Amazon forest, and it will solve all your problems, right? I'm very suspicious of that. So what ends up happening is I don't hear it, because it bounces off of me, because I'm too suspicious of their intent. Other reasons why messaging doesn't work is that they pitch before they know enough about the prospect. And I'm just going to give you a couple stories with this. There was a networking event that was also some training that I was at, and the keynote speaker came out onto the stage and said, "Hands up for everyone that came here to sell something." So everyone puts up their hand. Excellent, you all came here to sell something. Then he says, "Put your hands up if you came here to buy something." And no one puts up their hand. We are always being sold to. We are always being pitched to. We are always being pursued so people can sell to us. It is estimated that before we're isolating or after getting isolating, that it takes a person will have up to 200 impressions made upon them before they get to work every day. An impression is advertisement and visuals like billboards and that kind of stuff. And out of that 200, maybe one or two is going to stick. So we're always being sold to. And when I'm selling my video production services and I'm talking to a prospect, this is how I engage them. I will, generally I will listen to what they have to say. I'll ask lots of questions, and because I want to find out more and more about them. I know what their pain points are. I want to uncover how they see the world and whatnot. So they'll eventually say, "Oh, so tell me about yourself." But I really want that person to give me as much information as possible. And we love being listened to. That's the other reason why we should do it, because it encourages people to ask questions back. So when I'm prospecting to see if they want a video, what I have running in my background in my mind is videos are expensive and they're time consuming. And how a video will help your business is actually, it will save the owner time and money, or the company time and money, because it will pre-qualify people. It will actually help you bring the right clients if the video is well done, and people will get a sense of you. Your video is your greeter on your website. It's like your Walmart. It's the person that the first point of contact on that. So videos will actually, again, save time and money. So I'm talking to a prospect about having a video, and my first question is going to be, how's business? I'd say business is great. We're really doing good. If we only all had that problem, right? I say, okay, that's good. And then I'll ask do you have a certain amount of clientele that you're a pain in the butt and you want to get rid of? And they say, no, actually, we love all their clients. Well, then my next question is going to be, do you have a family? Or tell me about yourself. I'm not going to pitch a video to them in that particular moment, because I don't have a problem I can solve for them. If I say, how's business? And they go, business is good. Do you have any clients you'd like to get rid of? And they go, yeah, we have about 30% of our clientele that are a real pain in the backside. So, well, I can help you with that by producing video content, so those people are not coming and wasting your time. So you don't pitch to someone unless you actually know whether or not you can sell them to that. And now that's different from your elevator pitch. That declares what you are, but pursuing people and this thing that people do, let me just find one here, of putting your business card in people's faces, I really ask that you not do that, because what you're doing then is you're actually just taking the business card and throwing it in the recycle. If people want your business card, they're going to ask. Now, if you're at an event where it's just like, give your business cards, that's fine, go ahead and do it. But I have stacks of business cards that I keep for my presentations, but have no meaning to me because people have just thrusted upon me, and no one wants that. And they're not going to remember you if you just kind of give them that. They might remember you being annoying, but that's not the memory you want to have with people. Okay. So the other reason why the messaging doesn't work is also the person who's giving the message is desperate to make a sale. And I've been there, and I've been on the receiving end of that, and it's just not good. And when you have that desperation, it's like dogs, they smell fear. People kind of know it. Other reasons that messaging doesn't work is the messenger is too in love with their products. They just think that they're the God's gift to whatever your problem is, they're going to do that. And they shoot themselves in the foot because there's almost an arrogance about them. And also bad timing. I'm not in need of a new hybrid. I'm not in need of a mortgage. I am in need of a roofer. That is one thing I'm in need of, so that's what I need. But timing is everything, and you actually may be relevant to your client, but if they've just solved that problem, then your timing's bad. Simply put, what this all means is that it's not relevant to the target audience. The messaging is not relevant. Or says differently, A has not done their homework on their ideal client, and they're just kind of throwing crap against the wall to see what sticks. So that's what I see going on when I go to a lot of networking events, and I do 1 to 4 a week, depending on the week. And this is what I propose to how to actually look at this differently and do it differently. So how to be more effective in your prospecting is actually by understanding the necessary engagements of better engagement. And it starts with your ideal client identification. And in this, you need to have simple clarity. And now we're going to start with business to consumer, and then the next one I'm going to do is business to business. But here's the thing: if you're doing business to consumer, well, you need to know your age range that you have them. And I'm not going to spend much time on this because I do another workshop on another presentation on Mondays that goes into defining your ideal client or your avatar. So this just is kind of the overarching view of it. Clearly, you need to know if the gender is important. The stage of life. So what I mean by that is, are they empty nesters? Are they just starting a family? Are they are they setting for retirement? Where are they at in their stage of life on that? Because that's going to have very different needs as to what their pain points are or what they're looking for. Blue collar versus white collar is obviously very important, and with that comes generally education. And no family versus no family is like stage of life also on that. Ethnicity is important. Are you selling to your same ethnic group, or are you selling to another one? Now, this next one is probably the most important out of all of them, whether or not the glass is half empty or if the glass is half full. So would anyone like to weigh in as to why that's important, whether or not they have an optimistic or a pessimistic mindset? Why do you think that's important to consider?
Pessimistic might dismiss it faster.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. The pessimists are going to grind you on your bill. The pessimists are going to be suspect of your intention. They're going to be the ones that are going to see that they're going to scrutinize everything. They're going to expect that you're going to screw them. The glass half full type of people, the optimists, see the world as they see the world more positive, and what they want is, and they want to be treated the way they are treated. They want to be treated the way they treat people. It's like, my ex-wife is a lawyer. She's the world's biggest law firm. She's a partner with them, and she hates being ground on her bill. She absolutely hates it. and that's because she always pays her bills out. But she's constantly having this kind of issues with people on that. So the pessimism is a lot more work. The pessimistics are the ones that are going to, if you make a mistake, are not going to be forgiving, or they're going to remember it forever. And it's a very important understanding on this. In my message crafting service, which is 6 to 8 hours of my time, I have something called the scale of capacity, and it really clearly illustrates where their mindset is and how they see the world. So, and it's absolutely important for your sales pitch to know how to actually sell to them. So glass half full, glass half empty, and so much more. I have 40 points, 41. I have 40 points that I look at for your ideal client for business to consumer. Now, when it comes to business, and this is not my wheelhouse as much as business to consumer, and here's some of the things that I know are important, but my where I really shine is in the business B2C, not B2B, but I can do B2B. It's not my strength. So the things you want to consider is how long they've been in business. Is it family run? And if it is a family run business, then how many generations, and where's the retirement on the owner? That's going to be something. If they're willing to sell, or if they have to sell, or if they have 15 more years, that's going to be very different on that. If they're ready to get out, then they're going to have different pain points on that. Whether it's a corporation or if it's a large corporation, is something else on that. And the other thing is, who do you sell to? And you might have multiple people you sell to. I often say, who is your master? Do you have multiple masters or one? So if you're selling software and you're needing to have, the decision maker, the person that actually approves the invoice, you have to sell to them. But if that software has to be used by their tech department and whatnot, you might actually have to sell to two, and there's going to be a different sales process to the tech department than to the owners on that, because the tech department may understand what you're doing and getting it, and the owners may not. But you have to sell the owners and also sell them. So who are you selling to is very important to understand and wrap your brain around. And who do you need to give more attention to, and where does the bulk of your messaging going to? Another one is glass half empty. Oh, these are out of order. Their operating budget. Do they have an operating budget? Don't they? Are they going to have to find the money from somewhere else? Where's the money coming from on this? Clearly, how big the staff are. And also, this is supposed to be a new bullet here. Existing systems in place. So are you introducing change that is going to uproot the whole system, or are you basically dovetailing it? The other thing I would consider with your businesses when you're doing B2B is, are companies based? Are they silo based? Like, are they really entrenched in their silos? So what I mean by that, does sales and production not talk to each other as good as they can, and then there's an inherent issue on that. So these are some of the things you need to really understand and comprehend as to what's going on when you're making the sale. So that was client identification in a very cursory way. From there, we move on to the why. Now, this is Simon Sinek's Start with Why, but on steroids. And the question that I always ask people, and Jerry, I asked you this yesterday, is why do you care about being in service to your client besides money? There is nothing wrong with making money. I believe me, I have no problem with that. But if I don't know why you're doing it and why you care about me, I'm always going to assume you're going to be charging me as much as you can. I need to know what motivates you besides making money or running a business. And finally, what they truly sell. So this is the questions I asked earlier. Apple doesn't sell computers, it sells ease of use. Nike doesn't sell shoes, it sells a lifestyle. Michelin doesn't sell tires, it sells safety. So what do you sell? And if you can't clearly identify that, then that's going to be a problem for you, because you're going to be aimless in your messaging. And once you have an understanding of these three, then this is how you're relevant to your ideal client. You need to know these three things, and you have to have a good understanding before you can be relevant to them, because this is where meaningful engagements lives. This is how you know whether or not you're relevant to them. So to answer these questions myself, what do I sell? Well, I sell clarity and relevancy. I bring clarity to people, and hopefully you're having that experience with me today, and if you were on the call yesterday. And also I teach people how to be relevant. I don't care how I do that. I like, it doesn't really matter if it's doing videos, it's doing executive coaching, it's doing one-to-one coaching, HR coaching, counseling. I don't care. I'm about showing people, bringing people clarity. How am I relevant to people? Well, I get referrals and I get repeat customers. And also, people have consistently always say to me, I didn't know that about myself. I've learned something about myself in your process. And last one, why I'm in it, not for money? Well, my lifelong purpose is actually bring clarity to people. I discovered that many years ago. And so it makes me feel important when I'm able to have people go have these big ahas. So those are my things and my my three areas on that. Okay, so this is the background, and this is really kind of, once you know this, then it's much easier to actually engage your clients. And let's actually go back now to the iceberg example and take another look at this model. So instead of, oh, sorry, I got ahead of myself. So let's look at this model slightly different, and actually let's look at it, see that these icebergs are actually one iceberg and they're actually connected. And instead of sending messages like this on that, what if we actually look at trying sending some messages that actually have some depth? And by depth, I mean seek to find common ground. And you do that by engaging prospects with authentic statements about your core values and beliefs. And there are many different ways to do this. And let's just start with truisms. Now, as you'll notice, I have truisms not down here, but up here because they're kind of more surface. They're, then we have, statements of obvious fact as that live up here, which are also truisms, but they're kind of like, yeah, tell me something I don't know, like, COVID-19 sucks. Yeah, we know that, but it's really not down here. So we're looking at things that's beneath the surface that connects peoples. So here are some truisms, and they're kind of somewhat cliche, but I'm just going to give you an example of what I mean by them. Customer loyalty is hard to earn and easy to lose. Being dependable earns our clients' trust. Honesty is the best policy. Here's one that's a bit more deeper. We don't know where this is going with how bad it's going to get with COVID-19. That's actually, I still think we're trying to figure that out. And especially in the United States, it's like, because I'm from Canada, we have a different reality up here just from the population base. If we have, 37 million versus to your 200 million up in Canada. So, there's a difference with that. So those are kind of truisms. For a more meaningful connection, we have to go deeper. And they are what I call relevant truths. They're a kind of societal or cultural truisms, but much deeper. Or they're a fundamental belief that transcends all differences. Now, I have a blank slide here because the example I was using isn't pertinent, and it's actually not pertinent anymore. And I haven't found one better than the examples I'm going to show you with those images I showed you earlier. So, what they are is a kind of common sense statement that makes so much sense to both parties that it's a given. It's just like it's such a given that you can't understand why everyone doesn't get it, but they're much deeper. So let's look at these examples I shared earlier. Mental health affects us all. So this Bell Mobility here in Canada had, and I'm not sure if they're doing this, I'm not even sure how big Bell is in the United States, but anyway, they have this is their cause branding. Cause branding is going to be the, when you see the yellow ribbons for cancer or the pink ribbons for cancer, I forget what the yellow ones are for. That's basically their cause branding. So Bell Mobility is going after mental health, and they're saying they support mental health. And the question here is, who's going to disagree with this? Mental health affects us all. 10 years ago, this message probably wouldn't have worked. 10 years from now, it may not work. But this is a statement that they're making. They are making a declaration that says on that. And pretty much, I haven't met anyone that hasn't been affected by mental health issues through either themselves or knowing someone else. So it's their relevant truths. And what they're hoping is that people that have these same relevant truths are going to feel compelled to basically use their services. If they're looking for a new cell phone carrier, they're going to think about them because this is important to them. So this is their relevant truths. People that don't think mental health affects us all, this is not going to land on them. It's just not going to have any impact on them. The second example I used is a good night's sleep. Everyone deserves a good night's sleep. And I heard something, I don't know, 5-10 years ago, something that sleep is the new sex. People would rather have a good night's sleep than have sex. And I thought, well, that's kind of curious. That's a shame. But again, who's going to disagree with everyone deserves a good night's sleep? I don't know anyone. And lastly, this is my write-up for the meetup. I've changed the image here on this, but here are the relevant truths that I've come with in this. You may be held captive by COVID-19, but your professional development doesn't have to be. That's a statement. And why I made that statement was to have people actually come and sign up for my webinars, because they're going, yeah, I'm here, and I'm also be doing something positive with my time. I then went and added this to it too. And this is another relevant truism. And that is, when we get to the end of this, there will be two things going on. A lot of desperate people out there trying to close deals, and customers who will be reluctant to part with their limited resources. Anyone here on the call wants to disagree with this? Right? So this is my relevant truth, and this is what I'm doing that. And this is also, we see this goes on all the time. We're not even aware. Well, I'm not aware at times until I'm actually paying attention to it as to how much this tactic is used. It's like having them at hello. It's like you're meeting them at a place that is common ground for them on that. I'd like to share two of my relevant truths, and this may resonate with you or it may not. And the first one is, child poverty is wrong. That's what I believe. If I was trying to fundraise for a society that dealt with poverty in children, that would be a statement I would make to begin with, saying, can we both agree that child poverty is wrong? And people go, yeah. And if their parents weren't lazy, they wouldn't be poor. Well, then I don't have that relevant truth with the person. Another one is that illiteracy should not exist in developed countries. When I did my presentation with our National Police Service, the RCMP, these were not beat cops that were in this. These were police officers or members that actually had a portfolio. And one of the women in the room, her portfolio was youth engagement across the province of Alberta. And we have a big like our provinces are big. And so it was quite the portfolio for her to do, and she was responsible for it all. And so I said to her, so what could be a relevant truth when you're talking to, let's say, someone in a youth shelter and a drop-in shelter for adolescents? And she kind of looked at me, didn't really know what the answer to that was, and this is what I came up with on the spot. Good and smart kids don't always make good and smart decisions. And every single officer in the room was nodding their head, saying, yeah, they all knew that. So I was able to come up with a relevant truth to all of them. So if you have the RCMP officer trying to talk to a manager of a youth drop-in center, and after, for kids to go so they're staying off the streets, if the RCMP officer or the cop is saying to them, look, we get it. Good and smart kids don't always make good and smart decisions, and we don't want them to end up in the criminal justice system. We don't want them going into the system. Like, we know it's going to ruin their lives. Well, this is common ground that these two parties have on that. So this is when you have this and you know this, it really actually is able to find that common ground with people. And I'm going to now actually, and Jerry, this is what Jerry and I have been talking. We've sent some emails back and forth. And Jerry, how do you think you can use this model with getting with building rapport with government people that sign contracts for you?
Well, I think now a little more thought on some of the points you brought up yesterday. Are they getting their value from the contractor that they hired?
Yep.
So delivering the value at the speed that they desire, something like that.
Right. Well, and that's going to be some of the services on that. But when it comes to, let me just pull up this model again here. And I'm just gonna, I just want to find one that's blank. How far do I have to go? Oh, there it was right there. Okay, we'll use this one. So so you know for a fact that, or we just, we discussed yesterday that the government, or is it the government or the Navy, or is it, I just use them interchangeably?
Yeah, interchangeable.
Okay, so they're going to be very conscious of the fact, due to a long history of people really inflating costs for their services and their contracts, and they're going to really have that. So a relevant truth that you could have with them is being able to say to them, look, I get it. I get it. There's a lot of people that have really inflated costs. I get it that there's been a lot of people, or there's a lot of contractors that have made really, have just charged a lot for the services on that, or added a premium on top of that. I understand that. Well, that statement actually is showing that you know that. And then your statement from there could be is that, we have and I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure how you demonstrate that, but it could be something along the lines of, we pride ourselves in our transparency. We understand that, we're shooting ourselves in the foot if we gouge you and that kind of stuff. But it's actually telling B here, who is the government, that you understand that that's going on. So you're making that statement. So that's one thing. What would be another way that we could use this model to have engagement, do you think? What is a common truth that you hold with the military, with specifically the Navy?
Been there, done that.
That's one of them. So you actually were able to declare that yesterday, that you've been in the service and you've served, so you get that. I would think that some of the other things that you have as those relevant truths is the fact that you want to make sure that America is protected. It's like, what do we have in common here is that we want to make sure the American people are protected. We want to make sure that our men in service are basically provided with the tools that they need to get the job done right. So that's an example of relevant truth to the two of you on that, is that you hold that in common, that basically you have the task of basically keeping not only the truth safe, but the Americans safe. And so that's a way that you can kind of start with, start building that foundation of being able to go, this is what we hold in common, and on that. And do you mind if I went to your website, I looked at your website, and do you mind if I make an observation?
Not at all.
Okay. So what I see from the front, and I'm just going on the front page of your website. I didn't go into the depths. I didn't look down on it, because that's actually that's a building. If you want to use the building, that's your storefront, is what it looks like on that. And what I saw is what you guys do, but I didn't see anything about why you care. What's important to you that you provide this service? And not to be too pointed, but I'm going to say it. It's kind of like your website looks like you're in love with your services. You're saying, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, but there's nothing that really tells you about why you care about what you do, where your values are based in that. And so I would go to your website and I'm going, yeah, you just want to sell me stuff on that. So I'd be really looking at, where where are you are you the principal owner? Are you a multiple owner? Like what's your, I saw your title, but I'm not sure what you're, if you're this is your company or you
No.
have, you work with other people on that. Okay. So, and again, I did a cursory glance on it just to see how it impacted on me. There's no real face of the company. I saw that picture, that image of everyone standing behind that sign, which is kind of cool. But
Well, that's not me.
wasn't there a, okay, I followed off your YouTube, your link from
LinkedIn?
not a link. I actually looked at the company from what you said in LinkedIn.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
I understand the people now.
Yeah. So there's really not a face of the company. You look like a kind of a faceless corporation that's doing that. And so, and that might be appropriate for the industry you're in. That might be appropriate for selling to government, but I don't know why you care about, I don't know where you care about the Navy. I don't know where you care about the American people in that. And that's what I think, just on a cursory glance, that's what's missing. And also, I'm not sure why you guys haven't used videos as a way of actually engagement.
Why we don't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because Cisco Systems predicted 2 years ago that by 2020, 85% of content consumed on the internet in the United States will be videos. People don't read anymore, and so, because they want that. So what I see is lacking is I don't know why you guys care about what you do. You demonstrate very clearly your expertise, but what's lacking for me is why you give a rat's ass, quite frankly.
Yep.
So, okay. Now, Sebash, as I try and get your name right, do you want to, do you have any questions about the model, and how would you like to share what you do for work?
Sure. Yeah, I'm in the IT field. I work as a technology project manager, and I'm actually building my brand profile, my personal brand, which I didn't care about for many years. So I'm actually very personally curious about all of these, the elevator pitches, the positioning yourself, marketing yourself. All these years, all I thought was, okay, hey, if I do a good job, then people will recognize me. But unfortunately, that's not true. So you have to actually do a little bit more than that. So I'm for my own personal growth, I'm very much interested. Would love to know how this can be connected to your LinkedIn profile, how you can actually make that look out much better, how you can explain your value proposition better to, I guess, potential employers.
Yeah, and this is actually something that Jerry actually asked yesterday about, the fact is how do these things all integrate and whatnot, and that's really coming down to that those core values and what you believe, and those kind of statements on that, what kind of statements you're making. So it's really, if you think about the brands that you like, and I would just have you consider this and maybe contemplating after this call, but the brands and that you're drawn to, there's what's called the brand promise, and the brand promise is, where do you take people to? Or I'm going to ask the same question in 3 different ways. Your brand promise says, you will have this experience with us. Or what will people what will their experience be once they go through what will their experience be once they've had your service? Or another way to ask the question, which kind of helps people out, is, what do you want people to say about you when they've engaged your services? So with that, what we do is we take those questions and we reverse engineer them backward. So that basically looked at. So if you're knowing what you want people to say, what their experience is, then basically it gives you an idea of how you move towards that. And I just want to see if I can pull up a website I looked at yesterday just to illustrate the point here. So just give me a second here. Okay, so this is a client I was working with yesterday. Her and her son want to do, I have to share the screen, I know. So they're doing they're doing subscription orders for tea. And so my question to them was, what is their brand promise? Because right now their brand promise is that their mother's going to love the tea because Mother's Day is coming up. But my question is that what happens after this? So where does this company take their clients to? There's nothing here that really shows you what's unique about them or what's different. It kind of just they have this statement, and yeah, the son is who's doing this is 19, so you know he gets some slack for not knowing this. But this doesn't really tell me about what my experience is going to be, except for the fact my mother's going to be happy by having this. Does she love tea? Then order her some tea kit today. So as a brand promise, this doesn't really tell me much. And so in essence, what you're looking at is what experience is your clients going to have with you on that. And that's going to be consistent on your LinkedIn, your elevator pitch, your website, your any other social media platforms on that.
So what would be an example of how you would finish that then? And she'll order more forever, or?
Oh, well, what I advised them on yesterday was the fact that so I don't know why they care about tea. I don't know why they care about quality tea. That's the first thing. And what they're selling is you can make your own blends. So they're not talking about here as to okay, sorry. Let me say this differently. What type of person would I have to be to want to make my own blend of tea? Well, I'd be a foodie or some sort of connoisseur. And in this image, the screen that I'm pointing over here to, doesn't actually indicate that for connoisseurs. It doesn't indicate what specifically is going to make them unique, because their packages are extremely more than I'm going to buy at my grocery store. So you can't. It's not as if they're selling their product for cheaper. They're actually selling it for more experience, for more money, and it's back to that whole thing we talked about yesterday. You don't sell the steak, you sell the sizzle. They're not really selling. They're showing the sizzle in this example is, you know, does your mom love tea and that kind of stuff, right? But they're not really convincing people why they should go with that. And this is specifically, I think, is going to really apply to you. We don't buy from facts, we buy from emotion. And we justify our purchases with facts after the fact. And that's why, you know, and this is a Canadian with my impression of what I see in the United States and all that kind of stuff on that. And so I just want to throw that out there, is that, like, you know, it's not as if I'm an American on that type of stuff, but what I see in the States that happens a lot is patriotism, and you lead with patriotism a lot. That's an emotional sell. You're actually selling from emotion when you go with patriotism. And so in your case, the feel-good part of it is going to be about the fact that I think what would be a potential positioning statement for the company you work for is we have our Seaman, is that the right term for it? I know it's not. Yeah, we have our servicemen's back. We will have their back because they are protecting our country. We want to make sure that they are taken care of. That's what you buy with us, is you buy. We get the fact, because we have people who have served and we know how important it is. We haven't talked about the benefits of your service. We haven't talked about how you make how you develop the software and how you give them the hardware. Because you, if I recall correctly, you said yesterday you do software and hardware. Right. Okay. So in that, like, you're a good guest because you're trying not to have noise in the background. So thank you. So when you talk about, you know, the sizzle, which is we'll ensure that they're safe, we'll ensure America's safe, that's the sizzle. The software and the hardware is secondary on that. And so whoever's making those decisions, whoever authorizes that purchase, and I can only guess we're talking multi-million dollars, if not more, on that type of stuff, right? You know, you need to talk to them about the fact that, you know, we're going to everyone's going to be safer. We get people home better. We'll make sure that, you know, we're not going to be the weakest link in the chain of events here. We're going to have that because there's a lot riding on this. There's people's lives riding on it. Haven't mentioned anything about the software or the hardware. Those are the benefits. We need to talk about the, those are the features. We need to talk about the benefits. And it's everything. It's everything. And as far as I'm concerned, it applies to your contract or into your world also, because why are the decisions maker going with that? They're gonna have different motivations on that. Price is going to be one of them, but ultimately, you guys need a strong military so that you can protect them and you can protect America. So, Paula or Alan, do you guys have some questions about this model? We're at just over an hour, and we will be done in well, at half past the hour. So, do you guys have questions? Because I love working with Jerry. He makes my job easier.
Well, we're doing something a little different. We're trying to pitch investors. So I'm trying to like sort of integrate what you're saying to see how that would work in an investor elevator.
Oh, I would love to tell you about my thoughts on investors.
Okay.
So the pushback I get from investors when I talk about this is always come down ROIs. What's the return on investment? And I've had actually people that work with investors who say to me they don't care about all they want to know is what they're going to get back. And I say I call BS on that, because the reality is that even if, let's put it this way, there's no such thing as a true altruistic act. Altruism doesn't exist, because even if you feel good about giving or feeling good about doing something, there's still a pay for that. To have the idea that you have no, when you're doing something kind, there's nothing in it for you, doesn't exist. And likewise, I'm going to suggest with investors, it's still going to be an emotional purchase. Now, they're going to want to make sure it has the money that's going to come back to them. But that emotional purchase could be something as simple as, I was one of the ones that got in front of Uber, or got ahead of Uber, and I bought shares in Uber. Or I'm the one that saw this coming in doing that. Or I was able to get a 40% return on my investment. Those are all emotionally based. What they're going to do with the money is something, you know, that's why they're doing it. They want something out of that. So in a lot of ways, you know, people will say investors only care about what's going to come back to them, and I'm going, no, because it's still rooted in something else. So there's I've been part of Pitch Fest, where I was in January, where 25 entrepreneurs and startups were competing for something like $125,000. You know, 15 investors put in $5,000 each and whatnot. And sure enough, the thing that got it was one that had what everyone perceived the highest return on investment. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't an emotional attachment to that, you know, on that. So what kind of investors are you looking for? What are you needing investment for?
Well, we have it's a blockchain-based application, and we have some software already written, but it just needs more features to go after our target market. So it's kind of like we call it late seed stage, just to finish up the product development and take it to market. Okay,
so that you're polishing it and making it, you know, just some additional features and stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay, on that. So are you dealing with angel investors or just straight people that want to return on their dollar?
So far, we've been trying to talk to angel investors, and you know, we're not sure. I've been listening in on webinars on what VCs are looking for and all these kinds of things. So apparently, people say it's easy to get meetings now because everything's virtual, so people have the time. They're all sitting at home, but not necessarily easy to get money. So
yeah,
people's attention. That's what we need to do now.
Yeah, and the truly what it is you're selling on that, and this is where it really comes in. So Allow me to use an example to try and illustrate the point. 2 years ago, a deck builder approached me. He wanted a video for his homepage, and so I started by saying, "Okay," his name was John. I said, "John, what do you sell?" He goes, "I sell decks." He goes, "No," I says, "That's what you do. That's not what you sell." He says, "Okay, well, I don't know what I sell." So went through my process with him on that, and what we determined at the end of my process is he sells memories. So, because why do people have decks? Well, in Canada, we have decks because we want one more room because we have such a long winter and whatnot. But here, people have gatherings. People do things. There's meals. There's things on that. And so when we determined he sells memories, then actually all the heavy lifting was done, because then you could have an image of two women sunbathing and they're building relationships. Two guys standing around a barbecue drinking a beer. A child juggling on a deck in front of his grandparents. That all suggests the memories. So when it comes to really what you're selling, have you identified what that is? So what do you sell, Alan?
I mean, I think that's tough in terms of what we're selling to investors. And just a side comment, I've been told my pitch lacks the hook. In other words, I'm throwing raw meat out there, but I'm not baiting the hook. So that's the criticism I've gotten. But I think what we're trying to say to investors is this could be big, and I don't know if it's taboo to say that, but this could be something big, and we should take a shot at it. So we have technology, and let's run with it.
Yeah. Part of, and if you don't mind me just weighing in on that, who's going to not say it's not big?
I don't think anyone would, but some of the unwritten rules I've gotten is don't say you're going to be big because they'll immediately go.
Right, and it's kind of like one of those. There's some throwaway words out there that people are using in positioning themselves. One is we sell quality, and another one is that peace of mind. Well, no one's going to No one's going to say they sell shit. No one's going to say that they don't offer. I'm going to make your life. You're going to pay me a good price, and I'm going to make your life miserable. No one's going to say that. And the reason why, in my mind, that saying it's going to make big is pretty much everyone believes that. So you're not really stating anything that's unique or different. You're kind of stating the obvious, because why else would you be pitching to them if you don't think it's going to be big? Yeah, we'll do it, but you're going to take a haircut. You're going to take a loss. No, everyone's going to expect that. So you're not really giving any information that will really fill that in on that.
Okay.
And so what you sell is a good place to start on that. And I'm just gonna have a few other things just to make sure I don't run out of time on this, and then we can talk about this some more. And I just want to share, I need to do some selling. So, okay, let me just go through these slides really quickly here. So I just want to talk about some of my services before we run out of time, and I have some webinars coming up. So defining your avatar, I've actually retitled this to defining your ideal client. That happens on Mondays at 1 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So this would actually be probably helpful to you. And what I do in it is I actually do case studies. Like I said, I have 40 different points I cover with my clients as to what they have to define for their ideal client. And so I do that. And then intermittently, I offer this other workshop, level 2, where it's even more of people just come and ask their questions and beyond that. And I do those, that's not a one I do all the time because I have different interest in that. For the women in the audience, I have Hacking the Glass Ceiling, getting the next interview, and it's basically giving women tips and tricks on how to actually deal with the glass ceiling, which is really about what, we say we can go to the highest level industry, anyone can, but we know that's not true. This one I haven't developed yet. On Fridays, I have Widen Your Gaze Fridays, and that's where I bring in other subject matter experts. And on this Friday, it's my inaugural one, and it's on imposter syndrome and how to deal with imposter syndrome. And it is more tailored towards women than men, but it's still applicable on that. And then this is my message crafting service, and this is what is 6 to 8 hours of my time on that. And if you're interested, I can talk to you more about that. But the thing I do have is this elevator pitch diagnostic. And in it, I go over these points where ideal client identification. Actually, I have these differently. So look at your client and, you know, all these things we talked about earlier, but if it's B2B, then that's going to look different. Understanding what you sell, ensure that you have value, clarity on your value proposition. And the other thing is, for people that work for companies, you actually need to have 2 value propositions. For myself, as the sole proprietor of Barebones Communications, I only need to have 1. But if I work for another company, I actually need to know what my value proposition and their value proposition works together. So if I'm an insurance agent for Allstate, their tagline is, "You're in good hands with Allstate." Well, I need to be able to illustrate why that's important to me if you want to have authentic engagement on that. Because if you're just saying, "You're in good hands with Allstate," then people think that you're just a talking head. So that's something else I cover. I look at relevancy to your ideal client to make sure that you have clarity on that. And then your personal motivation. So these are the things that I talk about. And for this, you'll see it's listed on my website right now for $197. I actually have a COVID-19 pricing, special price on that, and I'm actually selling it for $49. So if you'd like to partake in this, email me, and I will. We can set up a time. So that's part of the presentation. So, Alan, this would really help you. This my diagnostic would really be quite good, and not only do people use me for the diagnostic and hire me for this, but they also just generally ask any questions they have about their positioning statements on that, and people will want to do the elevator pitch, but we end up talking about many other things. So consider it how to position yourself in the market and whatnot. So if that's something you might see valuable, then please consider that. And it is a temporary 1 day only. I need to hear from you today, or it goes back to 179. And the reason I do put urgency on it is that kind of forces people to act, and they're happy that they do because they're not on the fence with it. So that's something to consider. So going back to you, Alan, what is it do you think that you sell? What is it that your product sells?
We sell ways for companies to interact with their investors and their customers.
That's what you do. That's not what you sell.
Okay.
So hit me with that again. Ways for
companies to interact with their investors and their customers. So we want to make it easy and efficient and inexpensive for companies to interact with their investors and their customers.
Okay. My first observation with that is you actually have 2 value propositions there, not 1. And because your investors' needs and your customer needs are going to be 2 different very areas on that. And the customers are not going to care as much, like they're going to have different pain points, they're going to have different things. So from over here, what it looks like, and maybe I need to know more, but what you're doing is you're actually talking about 2 different services and you're blending them into one. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So what we want, people often see this as a funnel for sale, but I also use this. So what we have here is messaging that's your messaging is kind of up here, and you need to refine it and refine it and refine it, because if I'm investing, then if I'm investing in this, then I see that there's going to be investors, and then there's going to be the customers that you're dealing with, and those are 2 different things, and that might be one of the reasons why you're running into some resistance, is because it's kind of like, well, who do you serve? This is an example of you serving 2 masters. You serve your customers and you serve your investors. So who's more important in your industry? or not in your industry, who's more important that you serve? Is it the investors or the customers?
The investors, serving the investors is a much bigger opportunity.
Right. So
On that.
yeah, so your pitch, your positioning statement, you need 2 positioning statements on this, because your positioning statement for your investors is a very different pitch or engagement than your for your customers. Because if you use both, if you're trying to incorporate both, then it's going to actually just it's not going to be meaningful, because like, well, so who's your focus on? And I would think that you're splintered in what your focus is. So I would look at what do you sell for your customers, and what are you actually selling for your investors? Now, on that, are you okay with this kind of feedback?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just I just wrote it down. I'm just looking at it. I need to think of it for a second here, and I'm just going on with what you said. So companies to interact. So interact is your optimum word here about how companies can interact with either investors and companies. So why is interacting, what have you identified as interacting as important?
I'm sorry?
Well, why do they need to interact? I know the answer to it, but I'm being kind of flippant. But what pain point are you solving with interaction with them?
Well, it's currently very expensive and time consuming for companies to interact with their investors. And so we want to make that inexpensive, efficient, and easy.
Okay. So you said it's so with the investors, it's expensive. What else did you say, please?
Time consuming.
And what was the other thing?
Those are the only 2 drawbacks I listed, but the benefits I listed were easy, inexpensive, and I forget what the third was.
Okay, so when it comes to your pain points, expensive and time consuming, and Jerry, I'd like to know if you actually agree or disagree with me on this. When something is time consuming, it's expensive. If it doesn't flow. So businesses, what do businesses want? They want to save time and they want to save money. Jerry, you're the captain in the industry. Would you agree with me on this one?
Yes.
Okay. So saying that you're saving them time and money is actually you're saying you're saving the same thing. So it's all the bottom line is about money on that. So to the investors, you're saving them money. Yes?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So the time consuming is a good benefit. It's a good feature on that, but you're kind of narrowing down on that. Easy and inexpensive on that. So so in some ways, Alan, what you're really talking about is, what's the word here? Oh, it's very close. Just let me think about this for a second. In some ways, I think what you're selling is trust.
Okay.
Do you get how? Do you understand how I got there?
I do. We want to, automate and standardize the process so it's less, error prone. They can do it, simply and have confidence in it. And that basically is trust. They need to trust that this process is going to work for them and just be easy and inexpensive.
Wow, hold on.
You want me to stop poking this pin and this little voodoo doll I have right here? Is that?
My eyes are wondering. My water's right. Wow.
I do that to people all the time. I understand.
Wow, you're one influential guy. It's been a while since I've been choked up. I apologize. I'm not sure what's going on here, so let me just try and clear my throat.
When you were off, he was asking if you wanted to stop punching on the voodoo doll.
That, would you please?
I don't know if you were an investor, I don't know if I just made the sale or if you would, yeah, that's probably the latter.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so it's, you know, I would need to go, because it's I use a rating scale out of 10 when I talk to people, and I'll say, when I'm working with people, and I'll say, so out of 10, how much does this fit? And they'll go, it's a 7 or it's a 3. Then I kind of adjust my trajectory on it so that I can get them to a 9.5 or 10. And I kind of feel like trust is like a 6 on this and whatnot. It doesn't really have the meat and the bearing on it. So tell me about your customers. What do your customers look like?
They're going to be companies probably that are trying to raise funds from other angel investors,
Okay.
and maybe want to go public someday or maybe not, but they need to interact with their angel investors or VCs.
Jared, do you mind if I ask you another question and put you on the spot?
No,
Does this seem like these are two different businesses?
I'm not so sure that I see it that way.
How do you see it?
I kind of see the in my case, my client. I'm sorry, you're talking about his.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has two different businesses. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Because wait, you're serving the investors and you're serving the actual customers, and so at some point I think it's going to be, you're going to have some kind of, it's not going to make sense who you're talking with and who your master is, and I think just on its face I would really make those very separate, because then you're going to kind of go, well, what do you do well? Do you work about the customers, or are you worrying about the investors?
I mean, so there's like chicken and egg here. We are seeking money from investors, but the problem we're trying to solve is one that's kind of managing relationships with investors. So they should understand the problem. So our target, the target market of our product or service is going to be companies that are trying to manage the relationship with their investors.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I would need to, to really be able to kind of sort this out, have a much longer conversation with you, because I have more questions, and I'm noticing that we're coming up to the end of the time on that. Jerry, did you have any other questions that you want to ask? And just before we,
I was trying to keep quiet and make sure Alan and Paula got in.
Always knew you're that kind of gentleman. Well, you've done well. Do you want to, is there a question you want to ask, or no, you're good? Okay.
Good, thank you.
Luke,
Okay.
are you going to send out info on this $49 thing?
Well, if you, what would you, I could send you an electronic version of this. If you send me an email, I'll send that. And basically what it is, you just need to make a PayPal, send me $49 US through PayPal, and then we'll book a time.
Okay.
And and use my Luke at barebones.com, and that would be the fastest way. And we can, I'm looking at next week now for setting up times.
Okay. I am running out in like 5 minutes, and I'll be out till like 11 p.m. tonight, but I will get back to you on that.
Fantastic.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, on that, we are come an hour and a half in. I hope this served you well. I hope this was something that was gave you some value and brought you some clarity, because that's what I'm about. And please come back for my other webinars if you find that will be valuable for you.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. I was curious where I can find the recording for the first session that I didn't attend.
Yesterday?
I believe so.
Yeah, so if you send me an email, what I have to do is I have to do an attachment in Dropbox. So if you just send me an email, I'm not going to sell to you after this. You'll have to opt in to do that. It's just the fastest way to be able to tag it, put a link on it through Dropbox. So
okay.
Yeah, so send me an email.
Right. Earlier, like I mentioned, a couple of people are trying to register for this class because I found out about this late this afternoon.
Where are you based? Where are you based out of?
I am in McLean, Virginia, right out of Washington, D.C.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, there were a couple of people said that they were having difficulty registering.
Yeah, I'm growing pains. I'm trying to make it so that I actually capture people's email addresses, because Meetup is very expensive, and I'm going to have to eventually, unless it starts paying a lot more than it is, I'm going to have to find a different platform on that. So I'll provide you the link, and you may share it with them. And the other thing too is I've just started advertising in DC this over the weekend. I dropped some other meetups and to be able to do that. So that's why the information kind of came out of nowhere on that.
Okay, nice. Yeah, thank you so much. This is helpful.
Yeah, you're welcome. Jerry, actually, I have a question for you. If you could just give me a logistics kind of answer on that. What would be another good city to advertise in that actually has a lot of that people would find value of this? So I don't know that part of the United States very well about. So is Washington, should I be advertising in Virginia also as in Washington, or?
Yeah, actually, if you don't mind, could we just talk for like 2 minutes after this?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll hold on the phone there, and I guess I'll ask that everyone else kindly exit and send me an email, and I will send you those recordings.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.